all across the internet. Hopefully, you folks
Alrighty.
are able to tune
Well,
in
hey,
there
good
as well.
afternoon,
My name's
everyone.
Patrick. I
Welcome
work at
to
the
Monterey
Aquarium
Bay
here
Aquarium
in social
live
media. all across
And
the
if you folks,
internet.
excuse me, if you folks can just let us know
if you can hear us. But Emily, how you doing over there on your side of the world? Oh, and there might be.
My name's Patrick. I work at the
a
Aquarium
double
audio
in social media problem
and,
there. Apologies,
if you
everyone.
folks,
Let me
excuse
see
me,
if I can
folks,
figure
please let
that
us
one
know.
out. Sorry, Emily. I'm going to have to turn you off right now. Everyone is, yes. Okay, I think I figured out the double audio. All right, Emily, you should be back here now. Sorry, everybody. We're giving it our best shot that we can. Again, my name is Patrick. I work at the Aquarium here in social media. We're broadcasting live from my living room, and Emily is over at the other side of the world there, tuning in there as well. Emily, how are you doing? Well, not the other side of the world, I guess, just
it's
a few
very
miles
small
away.
world.
Yep,
Yeah,
over
just
a little bit across the bay from
across
me.
the bay. Yeah, I'm doing okay. It's been wacky Wednesday here. It's Wednesday, right, Patrick?
It should still be Wednesday, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. But no,
Yes,
it's
indeed. Can you tell
been
us a little
wonderful
bit?
because
Sorry, Emily, I've got a little bit of a problem with Facebook right now. I'm trying to get the data out there to all of you folks out there. So why don't you just tell everyone here about the penguins, Emily, while I just click away furiously.
I would love to. So we've been so excited to share our penguin cam with you all day so far today. Right now, we're hanging out with our African penguin colony. So these are South African and Namibian native penguins that would be living down there along those coastlines. These penguins here were all hatched in zoos and aquariums, and they are part of a very, very important species survival plan for their species because they are endangered seabirds. And so, right here, we're getting a great look at some of those wonderful, wonderful birds that we make sure that we have a healthy genetic population in zoos and aquariums, just in case something were to happen to their wild population, which has been suffering a lot out there in South Africa and Namibia in recent years. We can make sure that we have a healthy population here ready to go just in case. And these birds have been doing a great job at that, at being ambassadors and being just the best, most adorable ambassadors there are out there, Patrick, or at least in my opinion.
And Emily, here I'm about to hit going live for Facebook after fixing that. So if you are tuning in from YouTube on Facebook, and so we're just going to redo an intro. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Monterey Bay Aquarium here remotely inside the penguin exhibit from our penguin cam. My name is Patrick. I work at the aquarium here in social media. And for those of you who have already been tuned into the chat, you just heard the dulcet tones of Emily over there. You might recognize her from the morning meditation with the jellies. Emily, how are you doing over in your abode across the bay still?
I am doing okay. The meditation actually helped me a lot this morning. It was very strange to hear myself telling myself to calm down, but it definitely was a helpful moment for me, and I hope a helpful moment for a lot of you out there right now too. We're gonna try and keep those up and just have little touch points, little sanity, and connection touch points with all of you to help you out during this very strange time, like you said, Patrick.
Absolutely. I did want to say hello to all of the folks that are tuning in here real quick. From all around the world, we've got folks that are watching on YouTube, on Twitch, so many people that are tuning in, but mainly hello from Peru. Thank you so much for tuning in there as well. Okay, so Emily, I've got a few images here that are loaded up. Oh, we got folks from Oregon, from Indiana. We've got so many people that are tuning in. So I've got a few images that we can pull up here. And do you have any requests for a first thing to talk about here with our African penguins? They are here as a part of a species survival plan. I think you mentioned about these. This is a breeding colony that you're looking at here for these endangered wild birds. And we do have a few chicks or young penguins here in the exhibit at this point. I'll look for a photo of one of those chicks from before they went here into the exhibit. Can you tell us a little bit about the birds that look a little bit different from the rest you may be seeing in there?
Yeah, I would absolutely love to. They're not on screen at the moment, but I want you to keep an eye out for a couple of birds that look a little bit more silvery gray in color. They don't quite have those black and white stripes yet. Instead, they have these kind of dull blue gray feathers on their backs and kind of cream colored tummies. And those are going to be our two youngest birds here at the aquarium, Piper and Thule. So Piper was named by some of our wonderful aviculture volunteers. Our aviculture team are the folks who take care of all the birds at the aquarium. They've been doing an amazing job taking care of our penguins and our albatrosses and all of the other birds that are at the aquarium, especially in this weird, strange time when we're closed, providing them with lots and lots of enrichments. And for those of you who've been watching the cam, you might have seen our aviculturist Susan in there earlier today. Kim was just in there a moment ago taking care of the penguins. She might be popping back in to help feed and clean a little bit more this afternoon while we're on the stream. So we'll keep an eye out for her. But our aviculture volunteers helped to name Piper, but all of you actually helped to name Thule. So Thule is one of those penguins that you're looking at on screen right now, that pair in the photo there. So that's what you're going to look for, that kind of silvery gray feather coloration and those kind of cream colored tummies versus the black and white stripes of all the adults.
Right. So, yeah, while you were talking there, Emily, there was Piper and Thule there up on the screen. You can see right now, actually, we've got a lot of nonverbal communication happening between a penguin pair there on the side. It does
appear,
Ray
and Dassin.
It does appear that one of those penguins looks maybe a little bit uncomfortable. Would that be the penguin? Here, let me remove this. That appears potentially to be one of the penguins that is going through a little bit of a molt at the moment. Is that correct?
Yes. So that penguin looks different than all the other penguins, not because it's younger or older than all the rest, but simply because it's molting right now. So molting is when birds lose their feathers and grow in a new set of feathers. Most birds do that one feather at a time or maybe a couple feathers at a time. But for penguins, their feathers are what keep them really warm and insulated and waterproof and dry in the water that they swim in. If they lost just one feather at a time, it would be like constantly having a hole in your wetsuit if you're going diving. And so for penguins, instead of losing one feather at a time, they lose all of them all at once. It's a process called catastrophic molting, a process of all of their new feathers pushing all of their old feathers out. When that happens, they get all kinds of crazy feather dews. They lose their feathers starting from the bottom and going to the top. So oftentimes we're left with feather mohawks, the Winnie the Pooh look, I like to say, is one of my favorite phases there, where you have all feathers on top, no feathers on the bottom. So the penguin that you see in the lower left corner right now, his name is Dassin, and Dassin has been molting for going on about a week and a half now. So he still has a couple more days of actually dropping those feathers, and give him another week or so, and he's going to look all shiny and brand new like all the other penguins in here right now, right, Patrick?
Exactly right. Yeah. So young penguins, Piper and Thule, will also be getting their racing stripes right after their first molt. So what you were just explaining there, looks like we got a little bit of slip and slide there with one of the penguins. What you were just mentioning there, Emily, with the molt of those penguins, it happens right around their hatch day every year, as you were mentioning. And so for Piper and Thule, they'll develop into their adult feathers there with the black bar across the chest, the all white belly, the classic penguin look, if you will. They'll be getting that right around their first hatch day there as well.
It's not a very comfortable process. I saw a couple of you asking about that in the chat. When they're going through that molting, it looks pretty itchy to them, and it's always helpful when they have other penguins kind of helping them out and preening them in those spots that they can't really reach, where those feathers are being pushed out. And during that time, they're actually not going in the water to catch fish at all. So out in the wild, they would be just hanging out up on the beach. And so in order to stay healthy during that time, they'll actually pack on a couple of extra, you know, pounds there, which
Some
is a
penguin
lot for
pounds.
a bird. Yeah, some penguin pounds there, which is a lot considering that they usually only weigh about like 5 to 6 pounds. Um, so for these little African penguins here, they'll pack on about a pound of extra weight. You'll see maybe a little extra muffin top there on these birds. But they'll live off of those fat reserves while they're molting. Here at the aquarium, of course, they don't really have to worry about going into the water. We'll give them a snack up there on the beach. They don't have to pack on quite as much weight. But if you notice that
Exactly.
there's any penguins looking a little bit more round than the other penguins, that's just because they're getting ready to molt.
That's right. And we do have a few questions here, Emily, about the lack of snow and ice in this exhibit. How cold does this enclosure need to be? Lots of questions about molting. I think we covered those, but we've got a few questions there of where's the snow and ice here in the penguin exhibit?
That's a great question. That's actually probably the most popular question that we get about this exhibit. Because when we normally think of penguins, that's the first thing that we think. We think of snow and ice. We think of those big emperor penguins and Delhi penguins living down in Antarctica. But for most penguins around the world, this is kind of their typical average habitat. There are 18 species of penguins throughout the world, and only about 5 of them live in the snow and ice. Most of them live in very temperate climates where the weather is pretty similar to here in Central California. So the exhibit itself is the same temperature that it is outside. Outside today, it's in about the mid 60s, and that's probably 65, 70 degrees inside of the exhibit with our birds right now, too. But one thing that all penguins have in common is access to really cold, rich, productive waters. So you're always going to find them in spaces with really, really chilly water to live in, whether that's down by Antarctica or over by South Africa and Namibia, where these penguins will be found in the wild, right, Patrick?
Right. Yeah. Way to cover all of the questions there, all in one answer there, Emily, because, yeah, we did have a few questions that were, where do you find these penguins? And, yeah, so these ones, South Africa and Namibia, so southern tip of the African continent down there. That's where we're going to find them in the very cool, rich, productive waters there. At the meeting of the Indian Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean is where you're going to find a lot of these birds, or this particular species of bird. But yeah, very few penguin species in terms of total numbers are in the snow and ice. Emily, refresh my memory. Are we at 17 penguin species, 18? I know that there's some lumping and splitting going on
It,
in the science.
it depends on which ornithologist you
Right,
ask,
exactly.
Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So,
depending on who you ask, it's either 17 or 18. We say 18 here at the
yeah.
aquarium, but we don't want to get in any bird fights out
Yeah,
there
no, we
about that
don't.
number.
If any penguin researchers are tuning in, any ornithologists out there, our apologies. We're going to say 18 species of penguin, 17, 19, whatever it ends up being, as genetics advances for all of you folks out there studying these birds, we'll find out a little bit more. But yes, so about 18 species of penguin, and the northernmost are the ones that you find at the Galapagos Islands, and those penguins, excuse me, they technically have a rookery that is in the northern hemisphere, so just north of the equator, but we wouldn't consider penguins to be a northern hemisphere type of bird at all. They're basically from the equator further south, and there's a few reasons for that. One is that the equator is this massive, massive barrier that it really prevents migration for a lot of different animals because there's not a lot of food there. For many animals that rely on the cold waters, the very productive waters, the equator is not really a good zone for that. And then the further north you go, you end up running into other birds that have the same type of ecological niche, or meaning that we have birds in the northern hemisphere up here that basically do the same jobs that penguins do. And so a few different reasons there for why those penguins aren't up here. Their ancestors from the southern hemisphere, closely related to albatrosses. And though we do have a few species of albatross up here, they can fly. So crossing the equator, not as difficult as if you had to do it on a swim there. So that's why you don't find these birds in the northern hemisphere, which I saw, which was another question there. They stop right there at the equator with the Galapagos penguins, and then they go further south. Up in our area, penguin-like birds might be puffins, might be common murres, guillemots, those types of diving seabirds that we have up here that are a little bit more common than down south. Very good. Emily, did you see any photos? Any questions here? I can pull up some other photos if people would like. But maybe one thing we can mention, because right now in full view on the cam, we've got a little streak of white there. Oh, and of course it just moved over once I said that. But we had a little streak of white there on the carpet. This exhibit is very well maintained, very clean, thanks to our amazing aviculture staff that have been in this exhibit, making sure that the birds are taken care of. But we do want to point out that there was a feeding earlier today, and so after that fish goes through a penguin, it comes out the other side. Let's share a penguin fact here about digestion and poop, because we've been doing that basically every broadcast, I believe. Emily, can you tell us a little bit about the amazing plumbing that penguins have for themselves?
Yeah, it's a common theme talking about poop on our live streams. So for those of you parents out there watching with your kids right now, just get ready for all of the poop talk here on our live streams. But something that's pretty unique about penguin poop is how they poop. Because penguins tend to live in colonies of thousands and thousands of birds, usually very close to each other. Their nests just kind of out of pecking distance from one another. And they don't want to leave their nest or leave a chick inside or leave an egg inside. And when nature calls, they still have to answer that call. They still got to go.
Yes.
So instead of leaving their nest when they go, all they do instead is just turn their rear end out the front door and then shoot their poop into the neighbor's yard instead. It's something called projectile defecation.
Yep.
So kids remember this one. Projectile defecation. It's where you can actually shoot your poop several feet away from your body. So oftentimes you will see that happening in here. You'll see that there's some of that guano covering the rocks. If you see any kind of greenish brown spot on a penguin, that just happens to be some guano. It got in the line of fire there from another penguin's projectile defecation.
Right, exactly. And what's really important too to know about penguin poop is that it is highly antimicrobial in and of itself. And in certain colonies where there have been penguins there for thousands and thousands of years, you've got these piles of guano that the penguins end up hollowing out to lay their eggs inside of because of the natural installation and antimicrobial properties of penguin guano. And so we work closely with all of those partners to have this species survival plan there for the penguins. Looks like the cam is migrating away from a zone where we can see the birds. So I'm just going to transition up to some ornery penguins braying at each other there. That we've got penguins up on screen. Look at us go. But so that insulating guano is where these birds often lay their eggs. But often, yes, I can see there over on YouTube, Kai, yes, some folks have historically farmed that stuff or mined that penguin guano to use as fertilizer. And so that's part of the reason when you hear about habitat loss for penguin species, it can be due to the fact that humans have had very many uses for penguin guano for a long time. And so certain areas, they don't have the same amount of building material there for their nests. So that's what we're doing with AZA, is partnering with a few different organizations in South Africa, like SANCOB, the South African Foundation for Conservation of Coastal Birds. Those folks down there are helping build artificial nests to help out these birds so that they're able to have their egg. And obviously, you can't just put any type of nest out there. It has to be very well insulated because you don't want the egg to cook inside the nest. So we've been working with lots of engineers. They've come up with a few different really great solutions. So in case you're wondering, penguin guano, not only just a fun fact for the kids that are watching this feed to share with their parents tonight over dinner, but also a really important, crucial part of the ecology and the welfare of wild penguin colonies out there in South Africa and Namibia. Awesome.
Well, Patrick, I just want to mention that we've been getting a lot of comments over on Twitch just saying Poop stream day 2. We're doing a great job
Yes.
talking about guano today, talking about poop again.
Everything
But
is
I
the
also just
nitrogen
want
cycle,
to
as we've been saying, Emily. Sorry, everything is
everything is the nitrogen
everything.
cycle.
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, it's all related. I just wanted to shout out over to we have a lot of brand new folks tuning into our Twitch channel right now and hanging out in the chat with us. So just excited to see all
Yeah.
those new names over there. We have a lot of folks who are brand new to our Facebook page and to our Twitter. We've noticed a whole
Yeah.
lot of folks tuning into these cams with us over the last couple of days. So just huge shout out to all the new folks and all the folks who have been with us for a very long
Absolutely.
time.
Yeah,
We love seeing your faces over and over.
Yeah, looking at the metrics right now, just from the little that I can see here on the screen, it would seem that we have almost 1,000 people, maybe just under 1,000 people watching this live stream right now. So thank you so much for tuning in from wherever you happen to be. This voice is the Mola that you see on the screen. I'm Patrick. And then over on the other side of our city, waving at you, Emily from her house is Emily over there.
Hello.
She's the puffin.
Yes, I am a puffin.
Yes.
I occupy that niche up here in the northern hemisphere that the penguins occupy down in the southern hemisphere. It's true.
It's a lot. It's a lot of work.
Sorry, I almost called you Penguin and not Patrick. And
you know what? Appropriate for this stream. We've got one of the
Yes.
young penguins there visible right now, Emily. I cannot see if that's Piper or Thule. Maybe we'll be able to see it there. But there was a really, really great question. So many questions coming in from so many different people. But Emily, how do you tell penguins apart? Because I'm sure some of you folks out there are watching this, and we didn't just take the Photoshop clone stamp and just add in a whole bunch of different penguins in there. They are actually all unique. I can actually see we got Geyser that just walked away just there. Emily, can you tell the folks how might they be able to tell the difference between these birds when they're looking at them? And I'll pull up a photo of a penguin. So as we walk through it, how do you tell the difference between these birds?
Well, first of all, Patrick, it's actually really easy to tell the males and the females apart from
Yes,
each
it
other.
is. Yeah.
It is because the males are white with black stripes, and of course, the females are black with white stripes.
Naturally.
Right?
Oh, yeah. No, so with that, we can move on,
No.
I think, to another topic. I think we pretty well covered it.
That clears it up. No.
Just kidding, everyone.
What we're talking about when we joke about that is actually the name bands that our penguins are wearing. So as you watch them waddling around and being adorable and collecting their pebbles right now, you might notice that on their right wings they've got a little tag. It wraps around their wing right there, so it's nice and loose. But that white tag with black letters on it, those are all going to be our male penguins, our boys, and the black tags with the white letters are going to be our females. And standing out front, that right there is Boulders. His mate Walvis is inside the nest box right now. I can see her kind of poking her beak out every now and then. I know that is Boulders and Walvis one because that is where they go to nest every single year. They have laid claim to that nest box for years and years and years now. But even if they weren't wearing their name tags, and even if they weren't at their nest box, we would still be able to tell them apart from each other. And Walvis actually just stood up here for a quick second, and you might be able to notice some of those little black spots that our penguins have on their tummy. Those black spots are unique to each and every single individual bird. It's kind of like our fingerprint or even just the freckles on our face. And if you look at those spots on their tummies, you'll be able to tell our penguins apart from each other. You can kind of pick out different patterns, almost like picking out constellations in the night sky. So for Walvis, I can tell that that's her because she has a big upside down W on her chest. Some people would call that an M. I call it an upside down W.
Yes.
But that's Walvis right there. So she has that big M, I guess, or upside down W on her chest. Geyser has that big black stripe of spots right up the center of his chest. That's one of the ways that we can tell him apart. One of our oldest penguins in here, in fact, our oldest penguin in here, one of the ways that you can tell him apart from the others is because when you look at his face, on the sides of his face, his white feathers extend a little bit further in. And to me, it kind of looks like he's wearing white earmuffs. And so if you see some of those little traits that our penguins have, eventually you'll be able to kind of pick out those little individual differences in the black and white coloration of our birds.
That's right. And we've got a few folks over, let's see, on Twitch saying that we stand Geyser. Geyser Squad is starting to come up right now. Absolutely. Geyser.
Yes.
Again, with that geyser of the eruption of black down the middle of the bell, you might be able to see there. Emily, while you were talking, I put up a photo of Thule where you could see her wingband, black wingband there, like you were mentioning, the black wingband for the girls, the white wingband for the boys. And I don't know if you mentioned this too. The way you can tell the males from females. Apologies is that if this is doubling up, but during the breeding season, you'll often see females with footprints on their back from mating. And I know that a few folks who've been watching the penguin cam have already witnessed some penguin mating. That is what these penguins are in part here to do. They're a breeding colony, so that's no worries. That's just them going to work. But
the
then
birds and the bees.
But then the other thing, Emily, as trained biologists, what we're told is that if your penguin that you're looking at lays the egg, we're told that's the female. So that would be another way of telling the difference between males and females in the wild.
It takes a little while, but typically that one is the female. Kind of along those same lines, a lot of questions that I've been seeing pop up in the chats all across the internet right now are there mated pairs in here? And yes, most of our penguins belong to a mated pair, with the exception of our two very young penguins right now. And in fact, we will try and find good kind of genetic matches for each other. It's kind of like penguin online dating, really. Where
Yes.
we try and find a good match for our penguins, and oftentimes we'll send those penguins to other zoos and aquariums, and other zoos and aquariums will send their penguins to us so that we can find good penguin love inside of the exhibit. So a couple of our penguins recently went off to other institutions to find their penguin loves. And for those of you who've been following us for quite a while now, you know that one of our penguins, Ray, has been without a mate for a few years. And just recently, Dassin, the one that is molting right now, has kind of started courting her. So we might have a new hot
Aw.
penguin couple inside of the exhibit between Dassin and Ray. And you have one of my favorite pictures up on screen right now.
Yes.
It's so
And
sweet.
I'm gonna pull up a photo of Ray here real quick. We really love Ray. She's the best. So here she is coming up on screen. There she is, everybody.
We're biased, yeah.
Yeah, Ray, short for Monterey. She's one of the birds that was hatched out here at the aquarium. And there she is there up on screen. We love Ray. I'm definitely on Ray Squad. I mean, the Geyser gang that's starting to form over there on Twitch and YouTube. I can see a few folks out there, but definitely Team Ray here for myself personally there.
I have to agree with you, Patrick. I think I might be on Team Ray too.
And
But Ray,
no, go for it. Yes. No,
no,
go for it.
no, you
Sorry.
said and very,
No, I said-
very excitedly.
Sorry, I said and without thinking about it. Finish your thought because I want to pull up a photo of Ray. I want to pull up. A lot of people have been seeing penguins walking around different zoos and aquariums here, and we did want to point out that Ray is a trailblazer when it comes to that. She's been walking through exhibit halls at the aquarium for years now. You may have seen her as a part of the March of the Penguins for Science back in the day. I believe that was 2017, where we had Ray waddling about, and she also has been featured on numerous live streams previously. But there's Ray in front of the Open Sea exhibit doing a little walkabout. And then let me pull up another image of Ray here in front of the Kelp Forest exhibit, because Ray is one of those penguins that goes and walks around the aquarium as a part of the enrichment for the birds here. And there she is in front of the Kelp Forest exhibit there as well. There's Ray.
There she is.
Oh, she's just the best.
She is the best. And often she's one of the easiest penguins to spot inside of the exhibit because of some of her behaviors. Her behaviors might look a little quirky compared to the other penguins. One of the reasons for that is because Ray was born with cataracts in her eyes. And so in one of her eyes, she's mostly blind. So our team of aviculturists here spend a lot of time working one-on-one with Ray and providing her with the care that she needs to live a full and happy and good life and a healthy life. So oftentimes you'll see us feeding her up on the beach and not asking her to go into the water. recently, just in the last couple of years, we've been really working her to get more comfortable with swimming in the water. And so we always get really excited whenever she decides to hop into the water on her own. We try and give her lots of positive reinforcement for doing that. And the fact that she is now, possibly going to have a mate too is just, it's filling my heart with just such immense joy right now,
Yes.
Patrick, to see our little Ray just growing up and blossoming. And
She's our
I'm going
little
to get
ray of
choked up
sunshine.
talking about her.
Yeah,
She
our
is.
little ray of sunshine doing just she's just the absolute best. So for all of you folks that are tuning in, again, this is the voice of Patrick and Emily. We're the social media team. We are currently at our respective homes talking over the webcam here while the aquarium is closed. So thank you so much for everybody tuning in from all around the world where you have been. We've got folks on Twitch, on YouTube, on Periscope and Twitter, and on Facebook as well, watching this stream. Thank you so much, everyone, for being there.
I think
Yeah, go for it.
I think that we might have swayed some folks over on Twitch to be part of Team Ray as well. Don't worry, you
Ooh,
can
Team
still
Ray.
be part of the Geyser Gang and on Team Ray too.
That's
We
right.
try and share the love here at the aquarium.
Absolutely. So, and there's a few questions if the penguins have been able to leave the exhibit while the aquarium's been closed. And yeah, Ray's gone on a few walks as well. We're working on getting some photos of that for all of you folks as well. But yeah, otherwise, the penguins have had the excellent care of our aviculture team. And we're hoping that we'll be able to have the aviculture team on one of these calls here at some point during the next few weeks. I did want to be respectful of folks' time. We're going to try to do these live streams, this type of live stream, at 2:30 Pacific time. So right now, and then half an hour before right now. So 2:30. That's where we're going to try to do these same streams. So if you are trying to schedule your day, count on us. Unless our computers melt down or anything like that from home, we will do our best to try to bring you these live streams around 2:30 here, where we'll answer your questions. And tomorrow we're going to be answering your sea otter questions. So if you have any further sea otter questions, write those down, get those prepped for us, and we will see you tomorrow around this exact same time. Final question here to wrap us up, Emily. We've got a few penguins that are doing a mad dash running around with little pebbles. I'm going to pull up a photo of those pebbles right now.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what are the penguins doing there with those little rocks there? They're fans of hard rock? What's going on?
Oh, well, I mean, of course. But mostly they're grabbing those pebbles to become nesting materials. So we were talking about those little caves and currently building their nest. Nesting season just started for them. And so our aviculturists here provide them with different kinds of nesting material as a form of enrichment for our birds. So out in the wild, they would be using similar things. They'd be using rocks and pebbles and twigs and bones and leaves, whatever they can find out there to build their nests with. Here at the aquarium, we like to provide them with pebbles, but we'll also occasionally give them different bits of foam to put in their nests. We'll also give them ice cubes to put in their nests. And the ice cubes are a really useful tool. One, it's a great kind of mimic for those pebbles that they're using. But when they bring them back to their nests, of course, they're going to melt and they're going to actually help clean the nests on the way just a little bit. When they're nesting like they are right now, it is very difficult to convince them to step away from their nests so that we can clean them. So any help that we can get in cleaning their nests is always a good thing. So that's where those ice cubes come in. So right now, you might see them going around collecting pebbles. But if you keep on watching the webcam, keep an eye on some of those penguins, because if they do choose to leave their nests unattended, very often we'll actually see other penguins very cleverly sneaking into another nest box, stealing penguins from their fellow neighbors, and then sneaking back in.
Yeah, looks
Is
like
that Kim?
It's Kim. It's
Kim
feeding.
is back.
It's feeding time
Yay,
right now,
it's
everybody.
feeding time.
So we're gonna stick around right now to watch the feeding as it happens. But that is Kim Fukuda, one of our amazing aviculture staff that has been going in. Or maybe it's not Kim. Maybe this is the afternoon shift. But we have We'll see if we can see them on the
Susan
stream.
was in there earlier for the morning shift, so I believe this should be Kim. Kim was in there
Okay.
just about a half an hour ago cleaning. So
Yes.
if you've got the afternoon shift, this should be Kim right now. We'll see if we can
Perfect.
see her face and not just her knees and some fish. But she's doing a great job right now, handing what looks like. So I'm watching the impatience of some of our birds
Yes.
trying to sneak some fish right out of the bucket there. But Kim right now looks like she's got some capelin in there, which is a small silvery white fish that she's going to be offering our penguins and kind of tossing into the water every now and then as just an encouragement to get in there, to use their natural swimming skills, to actually chow down on that food. And that's something that we actually don't recommend trying at home. Don't try and eat your food underwater. Birds and specifically penguins are built in a way where they're able to actually swallow food underwater like us. But these penguins, we're going to be tossing the food into the water for them and feeding them up on the deck. And Kim's going to kind of be paying attention to see who's eating,
and one of the
how many
penguins.
fish are eating.
Sorry, Emily. One of the penguins just dropped its fish directly into the water and turned around to go grab another one.
Oh no!
And then we had a penguin just poop live. So you saw fish pre and post penguin. But these penguins are very, very well behaved. Can you tell we've got a few questions. Can you tell the folks how does Kim know who to feed and how much food for them to get?
Oh, that's a great question. So our penguins are actually pretty good at self-regulating. They will eat if they're hungry and they won't eat if they're not hungry. So if a penguin chooses not to eat today, that's actually perfectly normal for a penguin out in the wild. Again, they would be taking turns sitting on top of a nest with their penguin partner. And, they might go out to sea for a day, maybe even longer, to catch food and to eat, and then come back to the nest and switch places. So here inside of the exhibit, we'll actually notice that the penguin pairs will take shifts. One of them will come down for the morning feeding. The other one will go and come down for the afternoon feeding as they switch places in there, or they might switch places every day or every couple of days. So we kind of keep track of who's been inside of the nests, who's been coming out to eat. And of course, because we can go to those nests here, we'll offer fish to the penguins who might be sitting on a nest in case they're hungry. But we kind of keep track. Usually we'll have someone paying attention and looking at those name bands. Of course, we know all of our penguins by those spot patterns and their personalities as well, but just kind of making notes of who's eating, about how many fish they're eating, and if we notice a drop in their appetite, that can actually be a sign to us that maybe we'll take a trip to our veterinarian, Dr. Mike, with them, or if there's an increase in their appetite and we see them eating 5 or 6 times more than they normally do, that's another sign to us that they're getting ready to molt. So it's a great indicator. Their diet is a great indicator for us to kind of maintain their health and make sure that these are healthy birds that we're taking care of.
Absolutely. Well, I'm seeing a few questions that are going by there. We've been here at it for about 35 minutes or so, but we are going to keep the Penguin Cam running live. So it is live right now over on YouTube. It's also going to be live on Twitch, and it is live as well on Twitter and Facebook right now with posts that we did earlier today. So if you're looking for some more Penguin Cam, it's also available on our website here. But Emily and I believe we've got to sign off here to go work on some more content here for all of you. But again, tune in just about 24 hours or just a little bit under that at this point, and we will hopefully be back here with some sea otter cam stuff. So we got some cool news to announce then. And with that, everyone, I'm going to give Emily the last few words here. Emily, do you have any parting messages about penguins for the folks out there?
Parting penguin messages. Well, I mean, first of all, they are amazing ambassadors for their species. They are an endangered bird. Over the last 100 years in the wild, their population has declined by nearly 98%. So all those little actions that you're taking in your everyday lives make a big impact no matter where you live on endangered species all over the world, whether that means choosing to eat sustainable seafood, choosing to reduce waste and plastic use in your life, or just making sure that you're, you know, helping support organizations like ours who are working directly with these birds and helping to send people down to South Africa to work with our colleagues down there at SANCOB, the South African Foundation for the Conservation of Coastal Birds, doing wild rescue and rehabilitation of African penguins, and making those penguin nest boxes that Patrick was talking about earlier. They're doing some really incredible work to take care of these animals and make sure that they have a healthy, happy future as well out there in this shared world of ours. So, thank all of you for your support, um, helping us to take care of all of our birds here at the aquarium, but also helping us to take care of birds in the world too.
Absolutely. That was great, Emily. Thank you so much for that. For you folks that are looking to continue on with the penguins for the rest of today, you can head over to our Twitch, which is twitch.tv/MontereyAQ, just like our Twitter handle. The cam is also live right now on our Twitter feed as an earlier post from today. It's also up on Facebook as an earlier post, and it is streaming live on YouTube as we speak as well. So for you Twitch viewers, you're going to see a slight disruption while I turn off this narrated stream and go back to the other cam. And for the rest of you folks, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope to see you again soon at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.